This will be the rematch of the century.
S H I T.
This will be the rematch of the century.
The time of the Jedi is over.
Nerdrotic.com.
When it comes to Disney and Lucasfilm, I guess it can be said that diversity is their strength because there is a diverse range of bad Star Wars streaming shows, bad Star Wars films, bad Star Wars animated series. But what's the worst? Outside of the Acolyte, of course. Now there's just normal bad writing, bad acting, bad directing, poor execution. And then there's going out of your way to be bad with a subversion of lore or a clear disdain for lore and the destruction of legacy characters. And that's where the argument gets debatable. Is it The Force Awakens? Is it The Last Jedi? Is it The Rise of Skywalker? Or Boba Fett, Mandalorian Season 3, or Ahsoka? And the answer is all of the above. But I think the one show that did the most damage in the lore and character department is Obi-Wan Kenobi, quite possibly The Last Jedi for prequel fans. This is the one show, I would argue, where Disney Star Wars actually had a story to tell. Unfortunately, Disney didn't tell it. It's not like they didn't have a Obi-Wan Kenobi book series they could have just adapted. Instead of giving us a character study of Ben Kenobi while he's dealing with the repercussions of the prequels and maybe going to some un-Jedi lengths to protect Luke Skywalker, the person he is supposed to be the silent guardian over, and showing us aspects of Luke Skywalker's childhood, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and their comrades at Lucasfilm thought it was a better idea to have Ben Kenobi abandon his one job protecting Luke Skywalker to go chase around a 10-year-old Leia while having 2 rematches with Darth Vader that he never should have had, and focusing on a diverse Inquisitor instead of the real one, showing that a lightsaber to the gut is merely just a flesh wound, shake it off, Qui-Gon, and giving us the dumbest scene in all of Star Wars. Ultimately, Obi-Wan Kenobi did the most damage to Star Wars lore and legacy characters of any streaming show. And to a lot of fans, it was the straw that broke the camel's back because it didn't just show that Disney was bad at making Star Wars, it showed that they were completely incapable of it. So without further ado, let's get to the supercut of Disney Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, we will talk about the latest Disney Star Wars product, Kenobi, but first, let's break down the most recent timeline of the racist Disney Star Wars fan narrative. From a tweet by Variety on May 26th, Moses Ingram on preparing for racist backlash surrounding her Obi-Wan Kenobi casting. They've been really great about connecting me with people who've been through this. I haven't necessarily reached out. It's weird. It is weird. She's saying she didn't necessarily reach out, that they reached out to her. Let's hear it in her own words.
You've talked about this, how they're trying to help you prepare for this backlash, and there are people out there who say some really awful things. Have you spoken to someone like John Boyega and said, how do I handle it?
You know, they've been really great about connecting me with the people who've been through this. I haven't necessarily reached out. You know what I mean? It's weird, you know? So I think for right now, the course of action for me has just been to mind my eyes so I can check my mouth and, call it a day, I guess.
Honestly, I thought that was a pretty good answer. I wish she would have stuck with that. But I'm not here to blame Moses Ingram or criticize the human being. She is simply just an adult pretender who took a job with a billion-dollar corporation who's using her as a pawn.
You're far too trusty.
We'll get to who's to blame in just a moment, and spoilers, it's not you. Then we received a very strange late-night tweet from the Star Wars account, which I'm sure isn't run by some 20-year-old social media manager. We are so proud to welcome Moses Ingram to the Star Wars family and excited for Reva's story to unfold as it unfolds in the Kenobi series. If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we only have one thing to say.
we resist.
So there's the setup, and I know what you're thinking, and believe me, we will get there. What happens next was very predictable. Moses Ingram shared and then made a video about some very harsh DMs she received on Instagram. She said she received hundreds, but she only showed 3, and we're not going to show them here because they were indeed harsh, and I don't recommend anybody doing this. And then it was quickly followed by a Ewan McGregor car video. Then right on cue, here comes Disney's lapdogs, the Access Media, coming at you, the racist Star Wars fan. Problem, reaction, solution playing out in real time. Except this time, it's deliberate marketing by Disney. And please save your, well, if you're not a racist, you shouldn't be offended. I'm not offended because I'm not a Disney Star Wars fan and I'm not a racist, but I'm also not stupid. So let's play a round of who's the racist? Is it you, the vast majority of the Disney Star Wars fandom who's just giving some legitimate criticism? Or is it the company that shrunk Finn on the poster for China, put a mask on Black Panther for China, and thanked a concentration camp in China? We completely understand what you're doing. You're conflating what is probably one or two genuine assholes, some 14-year-olds testing their social media boundaries, and some bots does not represent the entirety of the Disney Star Wars fandom. You are trying to deflect criticism, and you want to know why? Because you know, Disney, you have a giant turd on your hands, and one of the reasons is the character of Reva, a dumpster fire of a Disney Star Wars product that currently has a 58% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. As I said, I'm not a Disney Star Wars fan, and I'm a little embarrassed that I watched this, and I feel a little dirty even though I didn't pay for it. Quite frankly, it's worse than I thought it was going to be. It's poorly acted, it's poorly directed, it's poorly edited, and it's poorly written. Unfortunately for me in this case, I have a little rule on this channel. If I'm going to talk about a film or a TV show, I have to watch it. And this is 2.5 hours of my life I'm never going to get back, and I really don't even like talking about it. But it's as bad as everyone is saying. I think that 58% audience score is a bit high, and I expect it to go down, especially after the 3rd episode. Best case scenario for Obi-Wan Kenobi is the show is good, and it's a good show about a guy who ends up babysitting a quitter. But he can't even do that because they're giving Kenobi the Jake Skywalker treatment. He is a complete idiot in this show, and so are the rest of the Jedi. This show exists to elevate Princess Leia, denigrate Luke Skywalker, and support the Disney trilogy and Rey Palpatine. And you heard me right. In the 1st episode, Ben Kenobi leaves Tatooine, leaves Luke Skywalker unprotected. Dude, you had one job and you blew it in the 1st episode, but he was not alone. Bail Organa, the man who was tasked to watch over Princess Leia Organa, screws up too. The spoilers were right. So far, Princess Leia does get kidnapped, and Bail Organa, instead of using the power of an entire planet like Alderaan to get her back, goes and gets Ben Kenobi off of Tatooine to do his job for him. Now, in the pursuit of the Jedi are the Inquisitors. Remember the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels? He was pretty cool looking. Not so cool in this series, but it doesn't matter because he dies. But that's to make way for not our protagonist, but the central character in this story, Reva, the one who's moving all the pieces, and all the pieces are moving around. And for the Disney Star Wars consumers out there, this is the crux of the criticism, not with Moses Ingram, but with the character of Reva. In a good story, a character does not detract from another. A character complements another, including and most importantly with the protagonist and the antagonist. Reva being smarter and having more information than Obi-Wan Kenobi and our antagonist Darth Vader is pretty formidable. It might be something you'll want to show. Did they do that? No, it'll probably be something they answer later, and that would be more Disney mystery boxing. What's a mystery box? Something that was perfected by Jar Jar Abrams. It's a cheap gimmick. It generally involves an overarching mystery, a MacGuffin, an unreliable narrator, sometimes all three, and you get all your answers at the very end of the TV series or the film. Just watch Lost. And it's a cheap way to avoid things like characterization.
What's in the box? Nothing!
So a defeated Kenobi who buried his lightsabers in sand dunes and was able to find them again was easily found by another Jedi in the middle of the desert. How did this happen? They don't really tell us. Reva, our ambitious Inquisitor who we know is on a redemption arc, somehow knows that Obi-Wan Kenobi is connected to Bail Organa. Reva then concocts a plan to have Flea from Fear and the Red Hot Chili Peppers kidnap Princess Leia. This is all to flush out Obi-Wan so Reva can take him to Darth Vader. No, Kenobi shouldn't have left Tatooine. No, Princess Leia shouldn't be in this story. No, the Grand Inquisitor shouldn't be dead. And no, Reva shouldn't be this important in the story, but she is, and the stupid doesn't end there. We get a stupid chase scene where 3 adult beings have a very hard time chasing a 10-year-old who runs like a toddler. But that's okay because Obi-Wan has trouble catching a 10-year-old who runs like a toddler. But that's okay because Reva, who was jumping like a superhero just a couple of minutes before, had a hard time catching Obi-Wan and a 10-year-old who runs like a toddler. And the rest is just a contrived plot, horrible dialogue, 10-year-old Princess Leia getting Obi-Wan out of not 1 but 2 jams, and Obi-Wan gets saved twice by Ilaria Sand from Game of Thrones. There's also a great scene of Obi-Wan trying to deprogram a laser gate that he could have just walked around.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Then there's the contrived rematch of the century, which is the single worst lightsaber duel I've seen in Star Wars.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
That's only slightly beaten out by some of the worst acting I've seen in Star Wars. And to introduce Darth Vader and not use the Darth Vader theme, you know you're dealing with hacks. And who knew Darth Vader couldn't use the Force through flames? But I have to give Disney Star Wars some credit. It does take work to make me not like Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Darth Vader.
There's a new joke going around. What did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap! Bang, bang!
How much worse can things get after episode 3? Much worse. I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know already, especially after 10 years, but Disney is very bad at making Disney Star Wars and television in general. Kenobi is the last Jedi for the prequels. But I don't want to bury the lead here. In some circles on Twitter, the most controversial thing about the 4th episode was hiding Leia under a trench coat. While that is one of the dumbest things I've seen in Disney Star Wars, and I've seen a lot of it, I would say it's not that unusual for a Disney employee to be hiding a 10-year-old under a trench coat. So little 10-year-old Leia, who runs like a toddler but was still able to outrun full-grown adult species, gets kidnapped even though she shouldn't be in this show at all. This leads Bail Organa, who completely failed at his one job, to go to Obi-Wan Kenobi to get him to fail at his one job. Culminating in the rematch of the century that never should have happened, Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, the single worst lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. All these events in the first 3 episodes conspired to create more contradictions than the Amber Heard defense. Of course, at the end of the 3rd episode, little Princess Leia gets kidnapped again by Reva, played by the master thespian Moses Ingram.
Obi-Wan is dead.
Start the 4th episode with a bacta tank because we haven't seen enough of those in Disney Star Wars series lately. Then we spend the next 10 minutes trying to figure out how they're going to break into the Transamerica building. With Ice Cube's son, we also find out that this little base has T-47s and they're used to haul sewage, so that technically makes them sewage speeders. You know, there's nothing like seeing 2 great actors play off each other, like Walken and Hopper in True Romance or De Niro and Pacino in Heat. And you get the exact opposite with this interrogation scene between Moses Ingram and Vivian Blair. I don't know why I keep trying to apply logic to the show, but instead of using this interrogation scene to maybe learn more about this brand new character, Reva, the formidable Inquisitor who's having trouble breaking a 10-year-old, nope, it's predictable, it's by the numbers, and it just serves as filler as Obi-Wan bumbles around the Transamerica building. Speaking of Obi-Wan bumbling around the Transamerica building, the Inquisitorius Fortress or Fortress Inquisitorius, whatever the hell it's called, we get the first of a couple of scenes that really encapsulates Disney Star Wars. A bunch of dead Jedi encased in amber. I half expected to see George Lucas in one of these. Reva gets interrupted torturing little Leia because of course she's not going to get tortured. This is Disney Plus. And then we get a very sloppy rescue from Kenobi. This is directed like a student film. Not to be outdone, Tala escapes by slapping a stormtrooper on the helmet. Who knew that was their only weakness besides not being able to shoot? Then the Empire finds out that there is indeed a Jedi running around in the home base of the people whose sole purpose is to hunt Jedi. I can hear the Disney Star Wars fans now, but it's following the beats of A New Hope. Yeah, badly, and that's all Disney Star Wars can do in a decade is regurgitate a film from 1977. Let's get this over with because we still have another episode to cover. There's a lot of bad shooting, and Kenobi, who had trouble moving a little device on a table 5 minutes earlier, can now go full-blown Jedi. Then we get peak Disney Star Wars as Tala, Kenobi, and Leia reunite. They decide to hide Leia under a trench coat. I'm watching this scene again. This is so stupid. Meanwhile, nobody notices that giant lump on the right side of Kenobi and those two extra little feet. And I love the Disney Star Wars fans' justification for this, and my good friend Mahler pointed this one out on Twitter. Star Wars has always been dumb. So they finally get caught, but then the stormtroopers and Reva conveniently wait for the sewage speeders to come in and save everybody. And no, I don't know why Reva runs like she's got a bad back. And let's tip one out, or F's in the chat, for Wade's sacrifice. Who's Wade, you ask? Well, let's go over his entire journey. Don't worry, it won't take long. We'll miss you, homie. Respect, Wade. You know, it wasn't enough to completely deconstruct Jake Kenobi and make him a loser. Now it's Darth Vader's turn. By the way, Reva took out Wade's sewage speeder by flinging a car battery at him, but I guess she didn't need to do that with all the other sewage speeders. It'll be fine. Now remember, in the previous episode, Darth Vader mentioned that he would kill Reva if she screwed up one more time, and Darth Vader shows up and he starts choking her, and I'm liking this. But it turns out that Reva's master plan is to fail at kidnapping Leia with Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and then succeed by accidentally running into her again, bringing her back to the Transamerica building, knowing that little Leia would somehow get rescued by Tala and Kenobi and get away so she could plant a tracking device in little Leia's little droid. Vader then relents on choking her and positively affirms her, just like any good fan fiction would do. But not to worry, because this is all schemes within scams, and if you thought that one sounded dumb, wait till the 5th episode. It starts with a flashback where Hayden Christensen is back and he looks like a middle-aged 19-year-old. Guessing budgets aren't what they used to be at Disney Star Wars. So little Leia's little droid turns evil, you can tell, because now the eyes are red and not blue. The droid not only serves as a tracker, it serves as a saboteur, while locking down the facility with the refugees so the transports can't get away. I'll give you one guess who they send to fix the door, and no, it's not Ice Cube's son or an Eternal. Then, inexplicably, Bail Organa contacts Kenobi, and he starts the conversation by saying, "I know we meant to not have any contact, but I was getting worried because you didn't contact me." I'm sure that won't bite him in the ass later. Basically, we spend the first 15 minutes of this 30-minute episode with exposition and filler. Reva and some CGI stormtroopers arrive at a door that they can't shoot through with cannons, but apparently they can have a perfectly normal conversation through. And this is where we get the big reveal that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Reva was hunting Vader all along. She was indeed the youngling in the first episode, and apparently she survived, and she wanted to get revenge for all the children that Anakin killed by joining the Inquisitors and killing adults and children. This is signature Disney logic and morality. Then Reva tries to blame Order 66 on Kenobi, asking him what he was doing while his friends were getting killed. almost getting killed. Then this show goes full Loki because, yes, I'm getting some serious Sylvie vibes from Reva. Abandoned to die as a child, taught herself all these force powers to infiltrate a giant organization only to destroy it. Reva breaks through the door. There's a big cave battle. The stormtroopers actually managed to shoot a couple of people, but not as many as they should have. But Tala gets the big hero moment here by blowing herself up with a thermal detonator. And I want you to remember thermal detonator. Now, Kenobi was begging Reva to join him, and he decides to give himself up to draw out Darth Vader so Reva can kill him. Then in a second scene that encapsulates everything that is Disney Star Wars, we see Kenobi kneel to a woman once again, but this time it's Reva. And just like the door conversation, they start whispering to each other about betraying Darth Vader in front of all the stormtroopers, who at this point are just functionally retarded. Instead of keeping Kenobi on his knees surrounded by 60 CGI stormtroopers, she sends him back into the caves with 2 so he can easily escape. Leia not only fixes her droid, which simply had a restraining bolt on it, she also fixes the door, and I'm surprised she didn't say, "I bypassed the compressor." And the transport easily escapes because they used a decoy ship, and, you know, that giant area with the giant door where the ships are taking off was conveniently left alone by the Empire. Vader was able to use the Force to pull down the decoy ship. It was barely an inconvenience, but somehow he couldn't do it with the actual ship that got away. Reva then sneaks up on Vader, and of course, we get a better duel between Reva and Vader than Kenobi and Vader. Meanwhile, throughout the episode, they're mixing in the training duel between Kenobi and the middle-aged 19-year-old Anakin Skywalker. All really driving home things we already knew. You know, the things that led Anakin Skywalker to the dark side, being impulsive, always needing to win, not having control over his emotions. And just like when Anakin Skywalker ran through the young Reva and just left her to die without actually checking, he does that once again. He runs her through and leaves her to die without actually checking, but not before we get the return of a big character. That's right, the Grand Inquisitor is back. How? I don't know. Apparently old Qui-Gon should have just shook it off. Oh, and yes, Vader knew all along that Reva was the youngling that he didn't quite kill during Order 66. How long did he know this? I don't know. Was he using Reva to draw out Kenobi? Okay, sure, but wouldn't he have access to the same information? Wouldn't the now alive Grand Inquisitor have access to the same information? And I guess Reva's big plan after surviving Order 66 was to train herself in the Force so she can join the Inquisitors to eventually find out the connection between Kenobi and Bail Organa, then set up the kidnapping of a girl she couldn't have possibly known about by hiring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers to fail at a kidnapping that was meant to draw out Ben Kenobi, which they do.
This is not meth.
Only to let Kenobi and Leia get away, but then eventually run across Princess Leia randomly so they can take her back to the Transamerica building to draw out Kenobi once again so she can get closer to Darth Vader. Are you keeping up? The thing is, Reva was next to Darth Vader a couple of times, and a thermal detonator would have solved that problem easily. Reva has spent years killing men, women, and children to get revenge on Vader for killing men, women, and children.
That doesn't make sense.
So basically, Darth Vader's a moron because once again, he leaves Reva to die, and of course she's not going to die. And there's just enough time to make Bail Organa and Kenobi look like morons one more time. Reva conveniently finds the communication device where Bail Organa blabs about Luke Skywalker, and the last scene is a little kid sleeping that doesn't look anything like Luke Skywalker. Thank the maker, we've finally reached the end of Kenobi, a 6-episode series that could have easily been a 90-minute film. So let's recap our main character, Reva. After being stabbed by Darth Vader during Order 66, young Reva was left for dead but somehow survived. After that, she somehow figured out that Anakin was Darth Vader and somehow figured out how to train herself in the Force. Then she joined the Inquisitors and killed men, women, and children, only to get close to Darth Vader so she could get revenge for him killing children. I'm guessing some time passes because they don't really tell us, and somehow Reva figures out a connection between Bail Organa and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I found a link between him and Organa in the archives. I used the girl as bait.
And you did this without informing me?
You left me no choice.
She thinks you will get favor by capturing Kenobi.
Then she devises her master plan to fail at kidnapping a girl she couldn't possibly know about twice, Princess Leia. She also manages to kill the Grand Inquisitor, all to draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi so she could pick the worst opportunity ever to get close to Darth Vader to kill him and completely fail. This brings us to the end game of Reva's master plan when she masterfully allows herself to be defeated by Darth Vader, run through once again, and left for dead once again, so she could randomly find the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker to go kill him. Again, killing men, women, and children to avenge all the men, women, and children that Darth Vader killed. Oh, and Kenobi's in this too, along with Darth Vader, played by 4 people and voiced by an AI James Earl Jones.
He's more machine now than man.
We start the episode with Reva back on Tatooine. Oh, how I missed you. Sure, Reva was dying in the dirt last time we saw her. How did she get there? I don't really know. We'll have to add it to our list of questions that I'm sure will be answered by the end of the episode. Meanwhile, Darth Vader is in not so hot pursuit of Kenobi, Little Leia, Crushed Ice, and Eternal, and the rest of the refugees in a Star Destroyer that shoots about as well as a Stormtrooper. At least it's on brand. And of course, the only person who isn't scared during this not so hot pursuit is Little Leia.
They're scared. She keeps their minds off of it.
Essentially, the first 15 minutes of this episode is people preparing for their respective battles. Long contemplative looks, long walks to doors, long walks away from ships. What is this, Blade Runner 2049? Oh wait, we finally hear from the Grand Inquisitor. Maybe we'll find out how he survived getting stabbed in the gut by Reva. No, never mind.
Hello there.
So Ben decides to leave Little Leia, Crushed Ice, and Eternal and the rest of the refugees, obviously to get these unnecessary filler characters out of the story to get to the one part that actually people wanted to see, although it never should have happened, the rematch of the century. Again. But wait, we need a little more filler. So Ben leaves the slow-moving ship to get into another slow-moving ship to not get shot by another slow-moving ship. Then, 15 minutes and 32 seconds into the episode, Vader arrives on a dark, rocky planet, walks up to Kenobi and says,
"Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?"
Pretty sure you just came to him, dude. Maybe they're running short on Vader voice. They exchange some unpleasantries, and then the rematch of the century that never should have happened happens again. They fight for about a minute, and we cut to Reva. The very same Reva who got punctured in the heart, maybe the lung, maybe the stomach, maybe through the spine, maybe only through the spleen. We don't really know because she seems fine. I mean, she looks like she's in a little pain, but it's just a flesh wound. After defeating Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru in the dark, she starts chasing Luke in the dark. Hey, Luke, remember when that crazy lady chased you with a lightsaber?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Except for that time that crazy lady chased me with a lightsaber. Darth Vader ends up defeating Kenobi in the dark and burying him in a pit under 2 or 3 tons of rocks. So what is Ben Kenobi's inspiration to get out of this pit where he's buried under 2 or 3 tons of rocks? Is it rising up to be the hero he needs to be, to fight the darkness, fight the Sith, fight the Empire, and train that next generation of Jedi and protect Luke? Or is it the 10-year-old girl he just met 3 days ago? You guessed it, it's Little Leia. We get a montage of memories of the girl he just met 3 days ago. Sure, they threw in a frame of Luke Skywalker as an afterthought, and after that, he gets out of the pit and he is super god-tier Jedi. Yeah, that's right. Obi-Wan Kenobi needed to think about a 10-year-old girl to get his mojo back. Seems on brand for Disney. Then he hands Darth Vader his ass after pelting him with rocks. Then he cuts his helmet open and Disney Star Wars rips off themselves by stealing the same imagery and emotional beats of Rebels. So what's the culmination, the coup de grace, the crescendo of this battle? Well, they sit down and talk and Kenobi walks away. That's right, Obi-Wan Kenobi just f***s off and walks away, and now thanks to Disney Star Wars, he has the blood of billions of people on his hands. Sure gives a new context to this scene, doesn't it?
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
But wait, it gets dumber. We dicked around for 15 minutes to get to what potentially could have been the most interesting thing in this show that never should have happened, only to dick around for another 10 minutes with a very long, lore-smashing ending. Meanwhile, Reva is still in hot pursuit of Luke Skywalker in the dark as Ben is flying away from a completely different planet. He finally senses Luke is in danger and Kenobi arrives just in time to completely fail at his one job. Then we get this genius bit of writing.
Luke!
Luke! Where is he?
Oh, no, he's inside. I just like standing in front of my house shouting his name. Do I look like I know where he is?
He's gone.
I'll look in the dune sea. We'll search till we find him.
Oh, really? I was just thinking of searching for about 5 or 10 more minutes, then going to bed. Well, the story literally cuts to the chase, because soon as they start looking for Luke, here comes Reva, and yes, the spoilers were true. She had Luke dead to rights, just like Kenobi had Darth Vader dead to rights, and she decided to show mercy, and this is her redemption arc. She's now a good person. Even after she killed men, women, and children, she decided not to kill one child. Now, I have the same question you do, dear viewer. By the way, you're looking very smart and attractive today. Thanks for subscribing. Why is she out there to kill Luke Skywalker at all? Darth Vader knows who she is. The ruse is up. Did she somehow make the connection that little Leia and Luke Skywalker are Anakin Skywalker's kids, and killing Luke Skywalker would somehow bring justice to the dead children by killing a child that Darth Vader doesn't know about? Well, they don't say quite yet, but maybe they'll tell us by the end of the episode. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru get Luke and then right off without saying a word, and then Ben tells Reva that she made the right choice in showing mercy. And I'm thinking something good is about to happen, because obviously Kenobi has to do something pretty rough here. He has to kill Reva because, although the show hasn't really told us, she might know about Luke Skywalker and Leia, and you can't have her running around with that kind of information, so he's gonna kill her, right? No, he lets her go. Reva spinoff confirmed. So Kenobi's a moron. He bails on his one job to help Bail, who fucked up his one job, has his old Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, who's turned into the dark Sith Lord Darth Vader, dead to rights, and walks away, then lets an unstable maniac Force user walk away with some of the most important information in the galaxy that he was supposed to protect. Vader said it best.
Now his failure is complete.
But wait, there's more. Kenobi leaves Tatooine again, so he can have a really inappropriate conversation with Lil Leia on a planet that he will be semi-responsible for getting destroyed in the future.
We must be careful. No one must know, or it could endanger us both.
Ugh. Maybe if Disney wants to shake that groomer label, they should be less groomy. There you have it, Kenobi. A complete character deconstruction that was more about Leia. And yes, he barely escaped failing at his one job through no actions of his own by saving a girl he shouldn't have known about, only to live long enough to babysit a quitter. We still got a couple of member berries to go. He does eventually meet Luke and say, hello there. And right here is your difference between Disney Star Wars fans, who will eat something like this up, and Tolkien fans. If you use one of the professor's lines like that in The Rings of Power, they will want to burn it with fire. But I do have a few questions, and I doubt I'm going to cover them all. How did Reva survive as a child after being run through by Darth Vader, only to train herself in the Force and then join the Inquisitors? How did Reva discover the connection between Obi-Wan and Bail Organa? How did the Grand Inquisitor survive? How did Reva survive getting run through by Darth Vader again, getting left for dead again? And how in the hell did she get to Tatooine? How in the hell did little Leia learn how to fix a door she's never seen before? Why do people keep coming back to Disney Star Wars? I'm sure all of these questions will be answered in a series of novels, a series of YA novels, a series of comic books, a series of audio adventures, and on the back of a cereal box. So the show that should have been a parallel character study without them interacting of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader ended up being about Leia and Reva. The directing was terrible, the editing was sloppy, and the only thing worse than the writing was the actual execution with the dialogue and acting, and it was much too dark. No, not the story. You literally couldn't see anything. Deborah Chow's shaky cam in Star Wars is sacrilege, and of course we can't forget about Disney's slavish adherence to
the message.
And as stupid as it was, you wasted your opportunities with the rematch and the re-rematch of the century by making them the worst lightsaber duels in Star Wars. But this isn't Star Wars. It isn't even what remains. Darth Vader is a moron. Kenobi is responsible for the death of billions. Reva was obviously a character that was shoehorned in for identity politics and that inevitable spin-off that'll probably get canceled. And they managed to make little Princess Leia annoying as hell, and the future of Disney Star Wars, which I don't think it has, is not looking very bright.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and okay, but
as I record this, it's May the 4th, 2026. Fake Star Wars Day. We all know the real Star Wars Day is May 25th, but Disney would like you to think otherwise, so you will buy their products. And next up is The Mandalorian and Grogu, and you can just feel the lack of excitement, and that tracks with the complete lack of effort Lucasfilm puts into making Disney Star Wars. And that's because Star Wars really isn't about anything anymore. To paraphrase what my good friend Robert Meyer Burnett said, Star Wars is only about itself, and now it's just content for a streaming service, and nothing says that more than the complete lack of imagination with titles. The aforementioned The Mandalorian and Grogu, named after The Mandalorian, and then we just get names: Andor, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, the recently released Maul, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, a show that could have been and should have been good, but wasn't. And it just ended up being another contributing factor to the disastrous slop that is Disney Star Wars. I guess the good news is Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger are finally gone. The bad news is nothing's gonna change.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.